Imagine I come up to you and I say, bro, I just got bit by a dog. I got attacked by a dog and it bit me in the face and all kinds of stuff. It messed me up. And you're looking at me and you're like, but there's nothing different about you, bro. He's like, no, but I promise you I got attacked. Oh, okay, sure you did, right? But what if I walked up to you and my face is all chewed up? I mean, I got bites everywhere. I'm bleeding. My clothes is ripped up. I'm sweating. I'm tired. And I come up to you and I'm like, bro, I just got attacked by a dog. Like, it was crazy. It just like chewed up my face and everything else. And you're looking at me like, yeah, you did. Dude, are you good? Man, wow, right? That's how I treated my walk with God for a long time. I would come and I would tell people like, bro, I gave my life to Jesus Christ. I gave my life to God. I'm here to serve God. But then there was nothing evident about it in my life. Nothing had changed. The fact that I had said it was the only difference in my life. Nothing else was different besides the fact that I said that I had given my life to Christ, right? And so that kind of reminds me of the story of the fig tree. So in Mark 11, verse 12, it says, the next day as they were leaving Bethany, Jesus was hungry. Seeing in the distance a fig tree in leaf, he went to find out if it had any fruit. And when he reached it, he found nothing but leaves. And because it was not in season for figs, then he said to the tree, may no one ever eat fruit from you again. And I was like, that's kind of harsh. What? And somebody in the Bible Talk group said, yeah, you know, one thing I learned is that when a fig tree has leaves, it's telling the world it has fruit. So pretty much this fig tree was telling everybody to say, look at me, I'm fruitful. That's what I was doing. I would tell people, yes, I gave my life to Christ, but there was no fruit, nothing about me that was fruitful, right? Now, the question is, well, what is fruitful? What is being fruitful, right? So for that, we would actually need to go to Galatians 5, verse 22. It says, but the fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, forbearance, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. Let me say that again. But the fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, forbearance, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. So the question is, would anybody describe me like that, right? But more importantly, would the people that are closest to me describe me like that? Would my wife describe me like that? Would my kids? Would my parents, my sister, my colleagues? Would they describe me like that? Right? No, or would they describe me like this, right? Where it says the acts of the flesh in verse 19, it says the acts of the flesh are obvious: sexual immorality, impurity, and debauchery, idolatry, witchcraft, hatred, discord, jealousy, fits of rage, selfish ambition, dissension, faction, and envy, drunkenness, orgy. Which ones would the people closest to me describe me as? Would they describe more of the one on top where it says 19, right? Where it says the acts of the flesh, or would they be describing me more like that, the fruit of the Spirit? Once again, I'm talking about the people that were closest to me, the people that are closest to me. What would they describe me as? That will show whether I'm being fruitful or not. Right? Not what I say, but what are other people seeing? Now the question goes to, well, Joel, how is it that I become fruitful? Right? How is it that I'm able to become fruitful? Because let me tell you something, I am indulged in the flesh and I can't break those chains, but I want to be fruitful. I've been trying to be fruitful, but I can't be fruitful. Look, I'm glad that you asked. There's actually a study called The Power of Four, and let me tell you something. If I would have listened to this before, if I would have heard it before, it would have gone over my head. But the only reason that it stuck with me, because I proved it twice. I proved it twice now. So The Power of Four is a study that was conducted by the Center for Bible Engagement, and it was around 2009 to 2012. And what they did is they grabbed about 100 to 200,000 participants, and what they wanted to see was the difference that reading the Bible made in their life. So what they did is they measured it by weeks, right? So the first measurement was 1 to 2 times a week. So the people that read the Bible 1 to 2 times a week had almost no measurable difference. Now the people that read the Bible 3 times a week had a small difference in their life, and the people that read the Bible 4 times per week had a huge spike in life impact, right? So what they saw was that the negative behavior actually went down and the positive behavior went up. Now the negative behavior that went down were things like feeling lonely went down about 30%, right? So you're 30% less likely to feel lonely. You're 30% less likely to be angry. You're 40 to 57% less likely to abuse alcohol. You're 60% less likely to watch porn, right? You're 70% less likely to be out there gambling. And of course, the stuff that went up, which was the positive, right? What they saw was that you're 200% more likely to share your faith. You're 230% more likely to disciple others, and your scripture memorization goes up about 400%, right? Now, they said the people who read the Bible less than 4 times per week were statistically similar to those who didn't read it at all. Let me say that again. The people who read the Bible less than 4 times a week were statistically similar to those who didn't read the Bible at all. And that's why it got branded the power of 4. Not because 1 or 3 times is bad, but because the data shows that 4 is where the consistent transformation really kicks in. If I would have read this before, it would have just gone straight over my head. But there's twice that I read this book that I got into it and I was really devoted into it, that I saw a measurable difference in my life. 2016, and then this year again, at the beginning of this year, where God really came in and said, boom, did something in my heart, right? But once again, I got into the Word and I realized one thing. I was like, I have been playing offense for way too long. I've been playing offense and I was just trying not to sin, just trying not to be a bad person. That was me trying to follow Christ. But in reality, what it talks about, it says, seek his kingdom and righteousness first. Seek and you shall find. Knock and it shall be answered, right? That's what it's talking about, because there's nothing that's greater than anything that we can get in this world. That's what it's talking about. It's talking about the seek and we will find him, because there's nothing that will fulfill us like he will. And if you don't believe me, look, I dare you. Prove me wrong.